right, all right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unspecified Podcast, everybody. All right, folks, welcome in. We've got a lot to get into. Not too much, okay, not a whole lot. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we do have some stuff. And I mean, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail, it's probably pretty obvious where what we're thinking. But we do have some stuff that we want to put on your radar having to do with all of that. Welcome in. Tonight feels like one of those nights where nothing is officially happening, but a lot feels like it's moving underneath. We've got chatter about a march in New York, specifically the Crusaders, shifting federal posture in Minnesota, heavy headlines coming out kind of surrounding Iran. So let's hang out. Let's hang out and talk about it, walk through it, check it out. Rebel, all hail Landonia, my brother, dude, Brofist, good to see you, Rebel. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. And like I said, tonight, it's one of those nights where nothing is officially going on or happening, but there's a lot of news. It feels like there's a lot moving underneath. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop into it. Let's see here. We got Jake Lang.
And you do anything, even stand up for law enforcement like I did against that disgusting signage, then they're going to try to put you away for many years of your life. But if you tear down on one of our nation's founders, a statue of them, you're going to be celebrated. They're going to throw you a parade, and then they're going to give you community service, a little slap on the wrist. The two-tiered system of justice, the deep state weaponization is still here. We need President Trump to stand up and double down on the mass immigration messaging. We cannot start to pull away now. We need millions of deportations of these illegal immigrants per year. We can't just start to pull away and say, it's only the criminals. We'll only go into certain cities if they let us in. No, screw that. America, we have one generation left, and we need a crusade now before we're all replaced. All of us, black, white, all of us will be replaced by foreigners from third world countries that don't give a shit about our heritage. They don't give a shit about our freedoms, and they will take our jobs. They will take our houses, and they will leave us in the dirt and throw us in jail. I cannot be more serious about this. Americans, it's time to rise, get active, join the Crusaders Active Club today. If you want to join my Crusaders Active Club, we have hundreds of members, chapters being set up right now in all 50 states. DM me on social media at Jake Lang, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Send me a DM right now, and you can join. Free to join. You get invited to all of our protests, and we can stand together as men against this scourge of evil that is taking over our country.
Well, what do we do, man? Because everything is so insane right now.
He's got that right. He's absolutely got that right, dude.
And you do anything, even stand up for a law like I did against that disgusting.
Let's look at this. Turn that mute that. Let's see. So Jake Lang and the Crusaders have just announced next major march, New York City. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay. New York City, Saturday, March 7th, 12 noon at Gracie Mansion, the mayor's house. Okay. We are coming to stop the Islamic takeover of New York City. Crusade against Muslim scum, specifically naming Zohran Mamdani. Okay. When I hear this dude say this stuff, I'm like, dude, let's hear him say it again.
Foreigners from third world countries that don't give a shit about our heritage. They don't give a shit about our freedoms, and they will take our jobs. They will take our houses, and they will leave us in the dirt and throw us in jail. I cannot be more serious about this. Americans, it's time to rise, get active, join the Crusaders Active Club today. If you want,
come ruin your life for this. I mean, it just, I don't know, man. I don't think this is the right way to go about it. Right. When one dude is trying to get everybody to meet up in New York and get a bunch of men, I just don't think this is the right way. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this. What are you thinking, Rebel? What are your thoughts?
Want to join my Crusaders Active Club? We have hundreds of members, chapters being set up right now in all 50 states. DM me on social media at Jake Lang, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Send me a DM right now, and you can.
He's like urging people to DM him. Doesn't that sound like something else? Not a honeypot, but what am I thinking? What's the word? Someone else out there. Aeon Solara, what's up? What's up? Brofist, good to see you. That militant stuff is a little strange to me. I agree. What's up? Good to see you. Mrs. Unspecified says, I agree with you. I've heard some things recently about Jake. This Jake. I get this Jake and the Jaden Scott guy confused, but yeah, I mean there's comments here. Crusaders coming in hot. Oh boy. The crusade begins. I think this is very close to, I mean, they're using a lot of imagery. I think this is possibly to maybe tarnish, maybe make Christians and gun-owning Americans look bad. You know? I think this is possibly a smear campaign, you know? Dude, Edward, Brofist, what's up? Brofist, good to see you, dude. There we go. Raul says, my opinion, we should not target religion or race. We should peacefully assemble out past those city limit signs. We need to stay united. I agree. I would agree. That's exactly what I'm thinking, dude. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And it just seems like the mixing, you know, like, is this the imagery that we're supposed to be? I don't know. I think it's a smear campaign. Anyway, okay, we got more stuff to get into here. All right, if you haven't heard the news, all right, Trump's approval, border czar Tom Homan announces deportation surge operation is in Minnesota will conclude. Just a second.
Has been made addressing public safety threats and other priorities since this surge operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement. I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue through the next week.
And so they're likely celebrating, right? Tom Homan, for those that say we are backing down from immigration enforcement or the promise of mass deportations, you are simply wrong. Look at the data.
For those that say we are backing down from immigration enforcement or the promise of mass deportations, you are simply wrong. Look at the data. Record number of arrests and deportations under President Trump's first year. And we'll continue that effort. Prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats doesn't mean we forget about everybody else. We will take action on everybody else. That's just a stone cold fact.
So we have Jake Lang moving out of Minnesota, not moving out of, but, you know, he's shifting from being, you know, he got arrested for knocking down the ice sculpture. And so he's pulling out all at the same time. Tom Homan is standing down. Okay. And then we hear, let's see, I'm not ready for this just yet. We have this news, if you didn't hear.
Yahoo yesterday. Has your thinking changed at all as it relates to these negotiations with Iran or the timeline with Iran?
We have to make a deal. Otherwise, it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands. But it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them.
Yahoo yesterday. Has your thinking changed at all as it relates to these negotiations with Iran?
Well, we have to make it.
So specifically referring Iran, right? We have a shift happening where we see Holman backing down. Okay, he's pulling out. I think we're seeing something kind of happen here. Okay, we have this just in: USS Gerald R. Ford strike group ordered to relocate from Venezuela to the Middle East off the Iranian coast, right? We also have this just in: U.S. purchases and smuggles roughly 6,000 Starlink terminals into Iran after riot and protest crackdown. The first time the U.S. has directly sent Starlink to Iran. So we're smuggling Starlinks in. Elon, 2 million, taxpayers, 2 million. Wow. I mean, I think something's brewing. I think we're about to see something. Specifically, I mean, it may materialize to nothing, right? It doesn't mean it has to be a hot conflict. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that this isn't structuring necessarily, kind of bowing up at Iran. There were a number of B-2s and B-52s and B-1Bs that started heading that way over the weekend. I believe this is a distraction. We need to be preparing for World War III. It will come down to you are American or not. Very interesting that they're essentially standing down right after a certain visitor came. Right. Specifically, you know who.
Timeline with Iran?
We have
Yahoo yesterday. Has your thinking changed at all as it relates to these negotiations with Iran?
Well, we have to make a deal.
Timeline with Iran?
We have to make a deal. Otherwise, it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands.
Well, he just mentioned he's Trump saying it, so I don't have to. Kaylin, Sister Fist, Bro Fist, good to see you. Welcome in. Just doing a chiller hangout tonight. Did he just say they got Midnight Hammered instead? Exactly. Yeah, I agree, Kaylin. I agree. And that's why we're taking a look, getting together and hanging out, talking about it. So we have the U.S. Gerald R. Ford, I'm probably saying that wrong, strike group ordered to relocate from Venezuela to the Middle East off the coast of Iran. At the same time, we have the U.S. purchases and smuggles roughly 6,000 Starlink terminals into Iran after riot and protest crackdown. The first time the U.S. has directly sent Starlink into Iran. I think that, it's very subtle, but it's very telling, right? I'm not saying that there's going to be a conflict. Likely, this is all just posturing to elicit a response, the correct response that they want from Iran. But I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. We've got Jake Lang talking about Crusaders have just announced next major march in New York City, Saturday, March 7th, 12 noon. So we'll be monitoring that situation and keeping an eye out for that. Make sure you're subscribed and follow along. So as we follow these live events and protests, honestly, I think I forget the word. It's not a honeypot. What is it? Somebody is going to watch this and know and not be able to correct me. Not a honeypot. He's telling everybody to, just listen.
And you do anything, even stand up for law enforcement like I did against that disgusting signage, then they're going to try to put you away for many years of your life. But if you tear down on one of our nation's founders, a statue of them, you're going to be celebrated. They're going to throw you a parade, and then they're going to give you community service, a little slap on the wrist. The two-tiered system of justice, the deep state weaponization is still here. We need President Trump to stand up and double down on the mass immigration messaging. We cannot start to pull away now. We need millions of deportations of these illegal immigrants per year. We can't just start to pull away and say, it's only the criminals. We'll only go into certain cities if they let us in. No, screw that. America, we have one generation left, and we need a crusade now before we're all replaced. All of us, black, white, all of us will be replaced by foreigners from third world countries that don't give a shit about our heritage. They don't give a shit about our freedoms, and they will take our jobs. They will take our houses, and they will leave us in the dirt and throw us in jail. I cannot be more serious about this. Americans, it's time to rise, get active, join the Crusaders Active Club today. If you want to join my Crusaders Active Club, we have hundreds of members, chapters being set up right.
So he's talking about members, chapters being set up. Let's grow this. Let's do this. We also have that other Patriot Front group, very shadowy sort of organization. It just shadowily pops up over here and shadows over here and pops up over here. We're not really hearing Hunter X Angler. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Reb, he says, my opinion, it's China and Russia we need to watch. It's a reason Trump wants to secure the Western Hemisphere. 100%, man. I mean, I totally see that and understand, but I also can look at it from the other direction as well. And I mean, obviously I'm for it because obviously it benefits us. But you know how Iran has a relationship with China and Russia. So in a way, it's kind of like, it's a soft, they are their own situation, Iran, but they're heavily supported, I thought, by China and Russia. The left created Jake Lang because people are not allowed to peacefully disagree in blue cities. That is true. That is very true. But does that make it the correct direction? You know what I mean? Just because, and let's talk about like the truth of what quote unquote created Jake Lang, because, how many of those folks that were arrested on J6, I just find it real weird that, he was released, pardoned, and so he's back to this. He's back to getting, that's good on him, right? It's not that hard to question. You were an activist. Now he's an activist again. But, Mrs. Unspecified said, don't forget what those two girls that picked him up in that red car from the day that you can see here, where, the day where he was in the mob, they said something that he said, Trump got me out, so I got to get him back, or Trump's doing something. There was, and not to say that those girls can be trusted in one way or the other, right? But it's just interesting, it's just interesting, the whole thing. And I'm just saying I don't trust it, okay? I certainly wouldn't go sign up and run off to New York to go march. And then we have Holman.
With that, and success that has been made arresting public safety threats and other priorities since this search operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement, I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this search operation conclude.
So they're concluding this operation in Minnesota, backing out. And I just find the timing odd. All at the same time as a certain visitor visited, okay? The leader of the Israeli prime minister visited. And then we're hearing this. This is all from today.
Yahoo yesterday. Has your thinking changed at all as it relates to these negotiations with Iran
we have
or
to
the
make a deal.
timeline with Iran?
We have to make a deal. Otherwise, it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic.
That's very clear. I mean, that's very clean signaling as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that means anything is necessarily going to pop off and happen next week or whatever. I'm not saying anything, I'm not fear mongering. I'm just trying to see the signs for what they are, and it looks like we're refocusing in a big way. Mrs. Unspecified says February is usually war month lately. It'd be a lot easier if. Okay. What were you saying? Ever since Russia invaded Ukraine. Every February, okay. Kalen says he probably paid them to let him out of jail. I think more like he was let out on a condition of service, perhaps. But that's my own conspiratorial, skeptical, I should say, mind. Okay, I'm not saying the guy is straight up, not what he says he is, but I keep my mind open to the possibility that. What is the word I'm looking for? It's not a honeypot. It's like a no, it's like sometimes certain government organizations will pose as somebody they're not and get a bunch of people to put their names on a list, basically. It's like, come join our militia, but I forget the word. Oh well. We have this random thing here. This is about that video that had the Obamas in it. I thought this was interesting or worth mentioning.
Have you fired or disciplined that staffer who posted the video from your account that included the Obamas?
No, I haven't. That was a video on, as you know, voter fraud. Then fairly long video, and they had a little piece and had to do with the Lion King. It's been very well. It's been shown all over the place long before that was posted. But that was a very strong. And I'm sure you saw it, a very strong piece on voter fraud, and the piece that you're talking about was all over the place many times, I believe, for years. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, have you fired or?
I don't know. What do you think about that? Sounds a little off guard. Have you fired or disciplined the staffer that posted that video on the Obamas? He's not going to fire himself. I think we're definitely seeing something brewing. Might not actually turn into anything kinetic, but I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here. This is out of Chicago. Literally got mugged. And they get into a Range Rover. Do you see that? So that's U.S. streets right now. That's America. I mean, I know it's Chicago, but it sure does seem, like a lot more could be done. But we're heading to the coast of Iran. Okay. I don't know if that's the phrase I'm looking for, Foxy. I don't know. I think Aeon Solora is a little bit closer. Provocateur is closer to what but I can't remember. It's a specific thing that feds do. Gosh, I can't remember. I'm thinking Ruby Ridge, where they set the dude up. It's kind of like entrapment. It's kind of like a honeypot. It's a net grab for names and stuff. Doesn't matter. It's all good. We'll figure it out later. Let's see. Boom. Yeah. Welcome to the podcast where you say it so I don't have to. Reported he staged the A word demonstration outside AIPAC headquarters through chocolate coins. Yeah. I've heard some other stuff. I've heard some stuff about Jake Lang. About, I don't know if we can get into it right here, right now. What are y'all's thoughts, man? Kind of like a sting. I can't remember. So the Jeff files released, and now suddenly it looks like war with Iran. Yeah. It's a bait scenario. I don't know exactly. I'm going to go watch like The Good Shepherd or something, and boom, I'm going to find it out. Yeah, so I mean, it's no coincidence. The files, the protests, the riots, and now Iran. I'm not sure what we're seeing. Dots. Who's got the string? Right? There it is. Something like that. Dragnet. That's a lot better. Yeah, I agree with that, Reb. It looked like a jib jab video. They make all kinds of videos. Trump did nothing wrong, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree, dude. I agree. They released the files, and now they are upset the files are released. Trump was cleared. The Clintons and others are not. But do you remember how the files came out? Or they started to talk about the files coming out, and then everyone got real mad at Trump because he was like, why are you worried about the files? It's so not, I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, why are you worried about that? Don't, that's boring. That's, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was along that vein. And then not long after that, they did come out, Yep. Yep. And a lot of folks, it's new, but for the rest of us that, we're looking into this back in 2016 during the a certain Italian, Pizzagate. Unfortunately, there was a lot of information about the Clintons that came out, And, it doesn't take too much of a jump and a leap to think, well, if that's what they were doing, if you are aware of the certain video that made a certain group of detectives vomit after watching, if you're aware of that, if you're not, you should probably just look that up. Don't look at the video, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that there's something really terrible. It came out back in 2016, and a lot of stuff with, in fact, I actually have this little clip here. Might be worth a save. This might be worth a watch.
For those of you who don't follow it or may not remember it, when John Podesta's emails were stolen, I hate the word hacked, they were stolen. They were stolen by the Russians. And they were then, through cutouts, given to WikiLeaks, which is nothing more than a tool of Putin and the Kremlin. And certainly people associated with Trump knew about it, because in August, Roger Stone was tweeting about how John Podesta would find himself, in the barrel some point ahead. So on October 7th, one of the more infamous days in the campaign, the day started with the Director of Homeland Security, the Secretary, Jay Johnson, the Director of National Intelligence, Jim Clapper, saying that with high confidence, they knew the Russians had been behind those hacks, those thefts of emails. That happened in the morning. Then the Hollywood Access tape broke a few hours later. And within 1 hour, such an amazing coincidence, WikiLeaks dumped all of John Podesta's personal emails. Now, if you read those emails, I think it's a little embarrassing to admit they are very anodyne, even boring. But because they were, the way that the Russians and their allies, whoever they turn out to be, were able to generate constant interest really was two factors. One, they sent the press on these wild goose chases all over the place. Oh, here comes 100 more. Here comes 1,000 more. Oh my gosh. And then, of course, the other was that they created the illusion of transparency. If you think you're getting something from, sort of behind the screen, maybe it's more legitimate, even though you're being played by a bunch of Russians. And the psychology of it was brilliant. And of course, it's part of the Russian propaganda effort, something called active measures, which they've used in many other settings, not just in our election. Well, you can only go so far with read these emails and listen to people, as in every campaign you can imagine, debate about what to do when and who says what and all of that. So they had to be weaponized. They had to have elements plucked out and perverted in a way that would be hard to imagine, and then sent back out into the cyber virtual world. So in one of the emails, John Podesta is talking about pizza. He's Italian and Greek,
And a very good cook.
And yeah, his risotto recipe is still there if you want to see it. And I'm sure there's something very nefarious about that risotto recipe. So all of a sudden, John's writing about pizza, and one of these really, I consider, evil people in the media world and in the online world, out of whole cloth, make up this story that John Podesta and I are running a child trafficking ring in the basement of the Comet pizza parlor.
By the way, there is no basement.
Yeah, there is no basement. Now, you would think people would be laughing like crazy, shaking their heads. But if you migrate that crazy story to Facebook posts, to news outlets, there are people who will believe that, including this very unfortunate young man in North Carolina who believed it. It was meant to be believed to influence voting. Even I have to say I don't believe it was meant to be believed to influence somebody to pick up an AR-15 and drive from North Carolina to Washington to liberate the imaginary children from the imaginary basement of the pizza parlor. But in came this young man believing that he was on a mission because he saw it on Facebook. He saw it in other places online. He saw it in, quote, news outlets. And so he was there on a mission of rescue. People could have gotten killed. He shot his automatic weapon off inside this pizza parlor. The street where Politics and Prose is was shut down. There was an active crime scene because people who cared more about weaponizing information, making negative stories up than the truth, than facts, or even public safety, and certainly any concern about children was non-existent. They were determined to stimulate, to propagate the attitudes that would grab some people in some states, some congressional districts, some towns and counties, so that they would be saying, well, gosh, you know, if Hillary Clinton and her campaign chairman are doing something like that, they should go to jail. I can't vote for that. That's the worst example, but there are so many other examples that were the same pattern, from stealing to giving to WikiLeaks to propagating to weaponizing into somebody's, Google chain, into somebody's Facebook post. And I think it's one of the most serious challenges we face going forward in politics, not just at the presidential level, but up and down, because if we don't get a handle on information that is not just controversial, protected by the First Amendment, but aimed at spreading lies to the extent that they can cause behavior like we saw in this terrible instance, it will not stop. And I'm glad that the Congress and others are looking at Facebook and Twitter and Google, because they are the vehicles, one of the very first vehicles to deliver this kind of information to people.
Also, they are supposed, did they testify in front of Congress? Again? Because they already didn't show up before. There's something fishy about it, man. Something fishy about it, okay? Just think how unburdened you are now. Oh, man. Well, I guess that's all we had for you this evening, guys. I've got a little bit of the word here from Charlie Kirk.
I have 30 seconds left to live. I'm dying from a gunshot wound. But what would you actually want to tell me if I have 30 seconds left to live?
In 30 seconds, you're about to meet eternal judgment. And so you got 10 seconds left. You're dying from a gunshot wound. And there's only one way that you can get bailed out of that. It's not all the good things you did or the moral scorecard. It's whether or not you have Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And that's the only thing that's going to matter.
How do you want to be remembered? If I die, I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing to me.
I have 30 seconds left to live. I'm dying from a gunshot.
All right, everybody. Well, I guess that's all we have for you this evening. Look, thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. It's a little bit slower than normal. Okay, we just see some stuff on the radar. We want to get it out on your radar. We want to hang out and talk with you guys about it. We thank you so much for this evening. And thank you for all the support, guys. All links to support us is down in the description section below. But just being here counts the most. Thank you so much, everybody. Maybe smash like on your way out. We will catch you guys on the next one. Much love, everybody. We'll see you out there.